non-critical path activity. The resource is not much experienced. Where will you deploy him?
Don't know.
If you deploy him in a critical path activity, due to inexperience, he may delay the activity. So where will you deploy him? You will put him in the non-critical path activity. Due to his inexperience, even if he is delayed, it will not affect our project completion. That is the security getting by knowing the float value. Float can be simply calculated using a simple formula. Let's start minus early finish. Say for example, your activity with a late start of 30, early start of 18, late finish of 34. What is the flow? Here I can use the start formula. Late start minus early start. Late start minus early start. That means 30 minus 18 will give you the float of 12. Okay, let us test your knowledge based on our understanding so far. Can there be more than one critical path?
No.
No, why not? You can have any number of critical paths.
Really?
You can have any number of paths. But
Yeah.
what happens if
But
you are
one
having multi-critical path? Yes, you can have many number of critical paths as well. You can have critical path 1, critical path 2, critical path 3.
With the same
yes,
with the same duration or different duration?
Same duration.
With the same. Oh.
I mean, 3 paths will have the same duration.
Yeah. Okay.
Then it is possible. But what happens if you're having multi-critical path? You have to manage 3 paths. So your project management effort is going to be heavy. So you will be struggling between path 1, path 2, or path 3. Then your project management effort is going to be heavy, and risk is going to increase in the project. That's why we always prefer a single critical path. Do you want to be there? That's the question. Of course, no. We want to have a single critical path because if you have multi-critical path, it increases the project risk.
But what do you mean by do you want to be there? I didn't understand the question.
The question is whether you want to have multi-critical path or not.
Multiple critical paths. Okay. If I want to be in that situation, okay.
That's why the first question is, can there be more than one critical path? Yes. But do you want to be there? No, because it increases the project risk.
Yes. Okay.
How much float does the critical path have?
What does float mean?
Float means flexibility to delay.
Zero
Float. Critical path activities have 0 float. Can there be negative float?
No. Yes. I
What
didn't understand.
Does that mean? Which one?
The float. I did not understand it. What is it?
Float means it is the flexibility available in any activity which can be delayed to a certain extent without delaying the project completion date or without delaying the start of the successor activity. We spoke about 3 types of float: total float, free float, and project float. Whereas in the critical path activities, there is no float, meaning there is no flexibility to delay them. It must be completed within the planned duration. That's why we say critical path activities have 0 flow. There is no flexibility to delay the critical path activity. Whereas other path of activities called non-critical path activities, so where there are float in the activity, so you can delay them without affecting the project completion. Whenever you see negative float, what it shows? It means that you are behind the schedule. That's what it means. Would you leave the project with a negative flow?
Of course not.
When you are in a delay, what will you do?
But
will
what do you
take
mean by leave? Like,
Would you leave it like this? You are in delay. So let it be there.
Will
Or
argument
let it continue. Will you leave it like that?
no.
What will you do whenever you see the delay?
will argument resource.
So we need to take action to recover the delay, right? We need to take action to
course.
recover the delay. That's the
Okay.
action. No, you compress. That means you try to reduce the duration or reduce the delay to recover. How will you recover? You have to apply additional resources, or you may do the activities in parallel. Thereby, you are managing it. Otherwise, it is going to increase the project risk. Right. The next technique we need to know is called compression technique. There are two techniques involved here. One is crashing, another one is fast track. What is crashing? Crashing means increasing the resources to the critical path activities in order to get the reduction in duration. That's called crashing. When you are increasing the resources, what will happen?
But what do you mean by
What will
crashing?
happen? Crashing means you are in a say delay. Okay, you want to reduce the duration of the project. For example, how will you reduce the duration? You have to compress it. How will you compress it? One of the technique is crashing. What do you mean by crashing? You are adding resources or increasing the resources to the activities in order to get the reduction in duration of the project. Where are you increasing? Your reduction, your increase in duration or increase in resources should be in critical path activity. Then only you will be able to get the reduction. So whenever you increase in resources, what's going to happen? It is going to create a cost impact. Correct or not? When you increase the resources, it's create, you need to spend additional money for the resources. So which create a cost impact. Then what is fast tracking? This is another technique. Say you are doing activity 1. Upon completion of activity 1, you start the activity 2. This is our current sequence. Now we are in a situation to reduce the project duration. What will you do in this case? You will overlap it. You will overlap, or you may do it in parallel. Whenever you do the parallel activities, it's called as fast tracking. Parallel or overlapping. It's called as fast tracking. So whenever you do overlapping activities, what is happening in the project? What is the result of overlapping activities? You will end up with a lot of defects. You will end up with a lot of rework. Right? That is the risk we are taking. So whether it is a crashing or fast tracking, both techniques only apply to the critical path activities in order to get the reduction in duration of the project. That's called compression technique. Let's summarize the points. Crashing, it increases the project cost. It can change the critical path. It can be done by increasing the resources to the critical path activities. You can obtain the greatest amount of compression for the least incremental in cost. You can get the greatest amount of compression for the least incremental in cost. For example, say you want to reduce the duration by 1 month. You want to reduce the duration of the project by 1 month. You have multiple options. Option 1 will cost me $15,000. Option 2 will cost me $20,000. Option 3 will cost me $5,000. Which option you will choose?
Depending on what you're getting in return, it's not only about the money, no?
But when we talk about crashing, your technique is you are increasing the resources to the activities in order to get the reduction in duration. When you are analyzing the various options available in our hand, option 1 cost you $15,000, option 2 cost me $20,000. Option 3 cost me $5,000. Which one you will choose? That's my question. Will you spend 20,000 or will you spend 5,000? You get the reduction 1 month.
You will
Suppose
spend.
you get reduction in 1 month, you are going to spend least incremental in cost. So you will be selecting the least cost impact. Option is the best option. That's what it means.
So which one? 5,000?
No, 5,000. Yes. Least
Yes.
cost increment. Consider law of diminishing of return. What is law of diminishing of return? Say for example, one of the activity we planned for 30 days duration with a resource of 20. Now you want to reduce by 15 days. So increase the resources by 40. So you should get the reduction in 15 days, right? When you're increasing, doubling the resources, so you should get similar reduction in duration, right? But that's not the case. The law says whenever you are increasing resources, doesn't mean that you get the similar reduction in the duration of the project. In some cases, you may not even be able to achieve the reduction in duration, even you are increasing the resources. That's called law of diminishing of return. You cannot get the similar reduction, linear reduction in duration. Fast tracking, key points, increases the project risk. It can change the critical path. It can be done by changing the relationship between the activities. Initially, we are planned with the finish to start relationship. Now we can do it with the start to start with a proper lag. You will be able to get the reduction in duration. Fast tracking can result in rework. These are the points we must understand. Any questions they ask, you can answer. Resource leveling is one of the schedule development technique. I will give you a simple example. When we complete our scheduling, we require 3,000 resources for the project. How much we require resources require? 3,000 resources. Now, before we starting the execution, we are analyzing what are all the available resources, what are all the sources of resources available from our organization, from the subcontractors and so on. Finally, we will be able to realize we will not be able to come up with 3,000 resources for this project based on the current market condition. We will be able to get maximum for this project. This is our situation. So what will happen? We planned for 3,000 resources to achieve a 1 year project completion duration. Now what are we saying? Only actual availability maximum is 2,500. So you are reporting to the management. Management says no. Even with these 2,500 resources, you need to complete the project as agreed. What will you do? That's what the resource leveling technique. What can be done? So what can we do is, we analyze the non-critical path activities, analyze the float available in the non-critical path activities. So we delay them to that extent. We pull the resources from there, put it into the critical path activities, and get the project completion as agreed. Like extending the working hours. It's this method only. That is called resource leveling technique. So what is the result? In this process, we are coming up with a project schedule where we are detailing out the start date and finish date for each activity, as well as when we complete our resource estimation, we assign the resources for each activity. When we complete our budget estimation, we are also assigning the cost for each activity. So your final schedule will be cost loaded and resource loaded program. Look at the note here. The project could be approved and signed up by the stakeholders and functional managers. Why? It gives us the assurance that they have read the schedule, understand the dates, understand the resource commitments, they are likely to cooperate in deploying the resources according to our schedule. That's why we want them to review and sign off. Schedule can be displayed in a variety of ways. One is the project schedule network diagram. Other one is the Gantt chart or bar chart. Third one is the milestone chart. I will give you the example. This is the project schedule network diagram expression, where generally this diagram is used for understanding the sequencing of activity or dependency between the activity. This is called the bar chart or Gantt chart expression. This is generally is good tool for tracking the progress. So we can easily show plan versus actual. The team can understand where are we now with respect to the plan. This is a good tool for that purpose. This is the milestone chart, is another form of expression of the schedule. Here, it is good tool for reporting to the management or customers. Customers or management is not interested on your 5,000 activity. They are interested on the key deliverable, when will you finish. So we can able to show them the key deliverables in the milestone chart. So they can able to understand the schedule better. Schedule baseline is one of the result in this process, which is, we know what is schedule baseline. When we are going through the schedule development, revision 0, revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision 4. When I reach revision 4, all the stakeholders said, oh, this schedule is perfect. This schedule is really consider all aspects. This schedule is workable, achievable, realistic. When we achieve that, that becomes a baseline. This is basis for our measuring the progress during the execution. Then it becomes a baseline. Generally, it is accepted and approved by the project management team. Schedule baseline is one of the components of the project management plan. Also, I am reminding you again, schedule baseline can only be changed for the formally approved changes in change control board. No other people have authority to approve the changes to the baseline. Only change control board is given authority to approve the changes to the baseline. Meeting the schedule baseline is one of the measurement of project success. If we complete the project as per the schedule baseline, of course you are achieving one of the project success criteria. Okay, we completed the schedule and the planning. Now we move to the execution. What will you do? You are executing the project activities are ongoing. So you need to measure your performance periodically. It could be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. So what do? You update the schedule with actual start date, actual finish date, percentage of complete, the remaining duration for the work to be completed, all are being updated. Then you can able to understand whether we are on schedule or behind schedule or ahead of schedule. If you are on schedule, no problem. If you are ahead of schedule, no problem. If you are behind schedule, you need to take necessary corrective action in order to improve the schedule performance, which is called performance review. That's what you are doing on a weekly or monthly basis. But when we talk about the performance of the schedule, generally what the people do, they look at the planned activities, they compare the planned activities versus actual activities. If both are matching, they are assuming we are on schedule, we are completing the project work according to the budget, we have completed all the scope of work. This is what they are assuming by simply comparing plan versus actual. It may not be true. Why? Yes, maybe you are completing the schedule as per the planned duration, but maybe you are spending more resources or you are spending more money. You cannot understand by simply comparing the plan versus actual. That's why we have developed a technique called earned value technique, which is considers three aspects. What is the scope we agreed to deliver? What is the timeline we agreed to deliver? What is the budget we agreed to deliver? What we achieved? What we spent? All is being analyzed in order to determine the schedule performance and cost performance by considering the scope of work we are supposed to deliver. So end-to-end value technique is the integration of scope information, time information, and cost information, which we are going to learn in the next process. Okay. Hereafter, mainly questions and then discussions only. These are the key points we need to know about the scope, time, and cost. I will talk about it when I go through the questions. Okay, answer. We spoke about the different level of estimation, right? What all the estimation we spoke about? Rough order of estimate, order of magnitude, budget estimate, and definitive estimate. So among the options, which is available for you?
We will receive questions like this in the exam.
Yes.
It's like order of magnitude.
Order of magnitude. Yes. These are the 4 levels of accuracy. Rough order of magnitude, which is in the range of -50 to +100%. Order of magnitude, -25 to +95%. The rough order of magnitude is in the initiation stage. Order of magnitude in the early planning stage or concept design stage. Budgetary estimate in the schematic design stage or middle of the planning. Definitive estimate is the detailed design or end of the plan.
Okay, so the classes of estimates there. Okay. But what is the difference between the other ones? Like the classes of estimates, their accuracy percentage are as follows. But because it's 6 months less and or 6 months more, so we go 25 to
This kind of estimate is called order of magnitude.
Okay. No, yeah, okay. So according
Not
to
only that, you look at the options. Look at the options. Huh? Defensive estimate. There's no such defensive estimate. There's no technical like defensive estimate. Capital cost nothing to do with the estimation technique.
Okay.
Order of magnitude is estimation technique. Feasibility is nothing to do with this matter.
Okay.
It is being done before the project finish.
So it could be also the first.
Order of magnitude.
It could be also the first one. If there was an answer about rough order, it would be also this one.
Defensive is not the technique. It is maybe a general term. There's no such thing defensive estimate.
Okay.
Difference of a milestone chart as compared with a bar chart making presentation to top magnitude is that unlike bar chart, milestones for activities to number 2.
No. Show dependencies of task. Milestone doesn't show the dependency. Only network diagram will show the dependency. Milestone is the key deliverables. Either milestones always I told you. There's no duration for milestone. Either it's a commencement date or completion date of a key deliverable, which is number 3. In the milestones are only you can see the key deliverables, not all the tasks.
Okay. Schedule the development analysis of Well, 4 should be 4.
Yes. Crashing, fast tracking, resource allocations are being considered as step or resource level. There is a real potential for cost increase. Whereas it says reduction in cost, which is not correct.
Slack.
Slack, maybe.
Slack.
Yes.
Okay. But whether your shipment has got delayed by 2 weeks, what should be the first step that you take? Four? Maybe 3, actually. I mean, if I
Three,
was
try to get additional supplies from alternative locations as
start
soon as
with 3,
possible.
like see if I can find it somewhere else.
Why? He's already coming on the weeks only.
Sorry?
The equipment is on the way, but it's delayed by 2 weeks.
Yes, but if it's delayed, then it will go.
It's not available. It's going to be the. So when the equipment comes, what you will do? You will not use this equipment anymore. You will get from other supply. I will stop the delivery. No.
Depends a lot. Then maybe
The
4.
question is, what should you do first? Yes, we can do a lot of things like that. What should you do first?
It also depends on the situation because maybe because of the bad weather, it did not go. It did not leave the base yet. So I don't know.
He still did not leave the
Yeah, if it did not
base.
leave,
End of the day, we realize it is going to be delivered to you by 2 weeks late.
yes.
It is going to be delivered to you by 2 weeks late. That's the.
What should be the first step that you take? Take corrective action to minimize the impact of the delay.
Okay. So you decided to take corrective action. What corrective action you will take? How
Depends on
you
this.
decide the corrective action?
Or you can find how. Well, you can work on.
No.
You can prioritize other tasks. So instead of taking more time on other tasks, we will finish them before.
Okay.
This
So
is
you
one
are
example.
going to fast track.
Prioritize other tasks.
So going to overlap, prioritize other tasks. Maybe if this activity is not complete, other tasks will not be able to start. What will you do?
Sorry?
If you are not able to start this activity or complete this activity, which are affected by this delay, you will not be able to start the other activities also. It is by sequence.
Like something you like airlift it or something like that.
Okay, but yes, you may have a lot of ideas in your mind. Our challenge is what? Out of the 4 options, which is the best option? Applies to this situation. Yes, lot of ideas coming in our mind.
To reduce
Out
the
of
time
this
of,
4
reduce the
options.
time of the other options that follow after this. To reduce the time of the next of the
The first thing is, as soon as you receive the information, you get delayed by 2 weeks. So what we need to do? We need to analyze the schedule. Due to this delay, what all the activities will get affected?
Yeah. Again, and to
And
reduce the time of these activities. Maybe.
Due to the impact on the, yes, what all the activity may get affected due to this delay of equipment? And what is the impact on the critical path? Then only we can decide what to do. You are not just straight away jumping into action. You must understand what is the impact on the project due to this equipment delay.
I mean, I think it's a very general question because it depends on the situation, it depends on the product, it depends from where it's coming. Like you can do so many stuff. It depends on the I mean, this is
Correct.
this is what I assume. But maybe if 3 and 4 are not right, then the most logical answer should be 2. Because it's
Two is
similar
correct.
actually to the other 2, but yeah. Maybe 2 is the
Yes,
most
that is the first step we need to do. After we deciding what all the activities gets affected because of this delay and what is the impact on the critical path, then accordingly we will be able to take necessary corrective actions.
Exactly. Yes.
That's what they are trying to see you, whether you are jumping into action straight away or you are analyzing it. This is what they're trying to test.
Yes.
So the first step is you need to analyze what is the impact due to this delay. And then accordingly, we will be able to come up with a necessary corrective action, which is the fourth option. So second is the answer.
Okay. If the number of critical paths in the project increases, the duration of the project is the impact of the project.
What happens whenever number of critical paths increases? What we spoke about it. Risk increases.
Maybe the risk, yeah.
Risk increases.
Risk increases. That's all.
Yeah.
Risk of the project
The
increases.
project increases, yeah.